Shalom. So, Biblical Hebrew, Lesson 4. We're finally getting into grammar. We're doing nouns. But first, a review of last time. Hebrew has a syllable structure of consonant, vowel, consonant, with the consonants being optional. Syllable stress is usually on the last syllable, but when it is not, we will write a hore on it, or whatever it's called. Most people don't actually write with that. It's mainly just a teaching tool. But the cancellation mark will always be on the stressed syllable in the Bible, so you can tell syllable stress with that. So, papach, under a ches or rain, the pharyngeal fricatives, is read before the letter. Otherwise, it is read after the letter. Normally, nikud are read after the letter. Hey at the end of a syllable is silent. So we have this explaining dagishes. A letter that can take a dagish lene after a consonant will have a dagish lene. A letter that can take a dagish lene after a vowel sound will not have one. And a letter that can take a dagish lene in a place where it would not be able to have a dagish lene that has a dagish will have a dagish forte. Reminder of what a dagish forte is, even though you probably remember, is it geminates it. It's at the end of the previous syllable and at the beginning of the next. So, after a short vowel, schwa is silent. When there are two schwas in a row, the first one is silent and the second one is vocal. A schwa at the beginning of a word is vocal, and a schwa under a letter with a dagish forte is vocal, because, it has to be the beginning of one syllable, so it has to have a vowel. And something I realized I forgot to write and say in the last video, at the end of a word, a dagish forte is silent. So, yeah, that's all the review, going back over stuff. Let's get into nouns. Okay, so if you have ever passed an English class ever, you should know what a noun is. But in case you don't, a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. So, an example of a person would be Yehochanan is a example of a person. That is a name. It's a person. An example of a place would be Israel. That is a place. So, yeah. An example of a thing would be Devar. That would be a great example of a thing, because it's a word and it actually also literally means thing. An example of an idea would be that's a horrible noun. Would be Shana, which is year. A year is an idea. Technically, all of those things are also things, so I guess you could just say a noun is a thing. But anyway, next thing about nouns. Okay, Hebrew nouns have grammatical gender. A lot of people hate grammatical gender for some reason. I don't know why. Like, it's just a way of classifying words. It doesn't have much to do with actual gender. Anyway, identifying the gender of a noun is extremely easy. For example, the var is masculine because it ends with no special ending. But like Torah is feminine because it ends in a comma and a silent hey. That is how feminine nouns are identified. So, everyone knows what pluralization is. It's when you make multiple of one noun, and depending on the gender of a noun, its plural suffix will be different. A masculine noun will end in the suffix "im". So now instead of one word, we have multiple words, davarim. And Torah, which I forgot to mention, means teaching. Well, many translate it Torah as law, but I think teaching encompasses the whole idea of Torah better. Anyway, feminine nouns will pluralize like this. We remove the last vowel. We remove the vowel ending. If a masculine noun so happens to end in a vowel, which I can't think of any examples of that, but if one did, the plural suffix would also replace its final vowel. There probably are some examples, I'm just not remembering them right now. Anyway, then we will add the feminine plural suffix onto Torah after removing its final feminine ending. And that is oath. So, multiple teachings are Toroth. This is a series of Toroth. So yeah, Toroth. And syllable stress will always go to the plural suffix, even if the syllable stress was not on the last syllable of the original word. So, but there is something to note here. Hebrew does not just have a singular and plural. Very rarely and occasionally it will use something called dualization, which is when there are exactly two. So, once again with the example devar, we will have devar, and the thing about devar is if we dualize it, we will make it have the suffix ayin. So, two words are davarayim. But the thing is, syllable stress will always go to the syllable with under it. It will always be, even if the first syllable originally had the stress, it will go to the syllable with So devarayim. And feminine nouns do not have a different pluralization suffix, but there is something I should show. Some feminine nouns don't actually have the feminine ending. It just sometimes happens. Like, for example, eretz. Eretz is the Hebrew word for land or ground. And if we were to pluralize it, would be eretzoth. Yeah, of course the syllable stress would change over to oth. It would be eretzoth. But if we dualize it, we will have eretzayim, which, that's the normal suffix. But if we instead, dualized a noun that does have a feminine ending suffix, like shana from earlier, sha, na, instead of shanayim, we would get shanathayim. The hey would become a ta, so we get shanathayim. And why this happens is the feminine suffix, before or biblical Hebrew, was, instead of it was off. Oh, I forgot something. This should be now a papa. So biblical Hebrew's feminine in suffix is gamatz into tau. But it used to be papach it's gamatz into hey. That's the one in biblical Hebrew. Gamatz into hey. But before biblical Hebrew, it was papach into tawa. So there's going to be a lot of times when conjugating words that the feminine suffix will become off. It's just going to be a normal occurrence in construct chains and using pronominal suffixes. We're not talking about those yet, but that's just how it's going to work. And it's not going to be hard to recognize. We just know, hey becomes tawa sometimes. So yeah, that's about all there is to say about. Actually, no, there is one more thing about grammatical gender. Some nouns can take both genders. So, say, any animal can be masculine or feminine. So we dog, we have kalev. That is a dog. And that is specifically a male dog. But if we were to talk about a female dog, we would have to use this word. We would have to use kalba. We'd have to use kalba. Actually, kalev might have first syllable stress. Let me check that real quick. So, it turns out kalev does have first syllable stress. That means I've found a good example for segolate nouns, which we're going to talk about later. But, yeah, so any animal, you can have a kalev or a kalba, a male or a female dog. And, this also works for things like king and queen are the same word, just masculine and feminine. It's melech. Nice, I found another segolate example for later by accident. So, but a queen is a melka. Yeah, queen is Melka. And this goes for other things like Princess Shah and Princesses Shara. But there's one funny example I want to show you. It doesn't go with the normal, oh, this is the masculine and feminine version. So, the Hebrew word for human is Adam. Yeah, that's Adam. It's also the name of Adam. But something funny is if we make it feminine, it was like I don't remember the vowels of this particular word that well, but we have Adama, which is dirt. It's it's literally dirt. So we have human, and when that's feminine, we get dirt. I mean, I guess it makes some sense, from dust you came, and to dust you will return. But it's still funny. So, moving on from grammatical gender and pluralizing and dualizing, we're going to talk about segolates now. So, yeah. Okay, so even though I said that um, we were moving on from pluralization, segolate nouns actually have everything to do with pluralization. So, segolate nouns are called segolate nouns because they normally have two segols. But the thing about that, that's not actually the classification of them. That's just their most common things. The only classification for them is that they need to be 2 syllables long and have stress on the first syllable. So, for example, I brought it up earlier. Kerev. It's 2 syllables long and has stress on the first syllable. Therefore, it is segolate. So, I'm also going to get another example. I'm going to get nagar. So, nagar, nagar means, I don't know why I was putting stress on the final syllable when saying it the first 3 times starting with. Nagar means, it means a young man. That's what it means. It means young adult, basically. Now, when you pluralize segolate nouns, something special happens to the vowels, regardless of what the vowels originally were. So, normal words, most of the time, the vowels don't get changed with pluralization. But here, with segolates, they do. So first, we will remove the first syllable stress because all plural words have syllable stress on the final syllable, the pluralization suffix. Why did I choose? It was not right. That doesn't actually do what I was getting an example for. Anyway, the first one will become a vocal schwa. Then we will have a patach. Then we will get thus the pluralization suffix. So, kerev becomes kalavim, and nagar becomes nagarim. So, but something, if a segue word starts with a guttural, gutturals cannot take the vocal schwa, therefore they will get a reduced pathach. Like here, let me get an example. Okay, I actually had the example in mind before I started recording. I just forgot it. I was gonna use hevel. So, hevel means smoke, smog, or vapor. But when you pluralize it, we have to go through segolate rules because it is a segolate. It's two syllables with stress on the first. But since we can't have a vocal schwa under a hey because it's a guttural, we get a reduced pathach. So we get havalim. Havalim, that's it. So, I'm going to move on to vocabulary. Another thing that I will be taking from the book I learned from because it teaches vocabulary well, although I will make modifications. Also this time, you gotta memorize it. It's not like the names where you can't just not memorize it. So, yeah, I will get that ready. Okay, we only got one page of vocab today. There are a few things I forgot to mention earlier, but I will bring them up as they are important here. So, av means dad or father or any paternal figure, really. Yeah. And there are some irregular plurals in Hebrew, but they're not very common. Well, actually, I'm not sure. I don't know, they're more common in English than in Hebrew. Hebrew doesn't have as many irregular plurals, and when it does, they are normally just a noun getting the wrong plural suffix for its gender. Like, say, av, actually, even though it's a masculine noun, it uses masculine verbs and all that, it's pluralized avoth, like it's a feminine noun, but it's not. Anyway, Avon is lord or master. Adam is human or person. Adama is ground or land. Av, Avon, and Adam are masculine, and Adama is feminine. Ach is masculine, and Achoth is, well, Ach means brother and is masculine. Achoth is feminine and means sister. You might just notice that it's brother, but with the feminine plural. I guess there's no singular sister, you gotta have more than one. And I guess there just isn't a Hebrew word for sister. Like, I don't know, it's not just aha. Anyway, so ish means man or husband. And el means spiritual being, like it can refer to angels or demons. But it also is often used to refer to, God himself. And it's also used to refer to false gods. And I wrote its plural as a separate word because it is irregular. It is Elohim. It's spiritual beings such as angels or demons, or it could be false gods, or it also refers to God himself. God is often referred to as a plural. You should watch like the Bible Project video on these words. Probably they're nice. There are Bible Project does have like word studies, and when they have a word study on a word, I will bring that one up because usually their videos are really good about that. So yeah, in fact, I'll show you like an example of Elohim being used both for God and an example for it being used for spiritual beings and an example for it being used for false gods. Okay, so here's a verse everyone's familiar with, Genesis 1:1, or in Hebrew, Bareshith Achav. So, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In Hebrew, we have Bareshith bara Elohim. It's plural. If Hashemayim wa'ef ha'aretz. Now, Christianity is not polytheistic. This is in reference to the Trinity because bara is a singular verb. Like if a noun is plural, verbs change, and bara is conjugated for a singular noun right now. So, yeah. Not necessarily the first place I would go to prove that Elohim being plural doesn't mean that Christianity is polytheistic. I'd probably go to the Shema because it uses our God's, it also has Elohim plural, but then says that Yahweh's one, it's Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Elohinu, Yahweh Achav. Yeah. I got that right? Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Elohinu, Yahweh Achav. Yeah, I got that right. So, yeah, and also actually another thing I'd just like to point out, Earth here does not mean the planet Earth because it's translated from Eretz, Haaretz, the Earth. And as we know, that means land or ground. So, yeah. Okay, I thought since I recited from memory the first verse of the Shema, I might as well show the first verse of the Shema, Deuteronomy 6:4, or in Hebrew, Devarim Shesh Arbach. Yeah, Devarim Shesh Arbach. So, yes, the book of Deuteronomy is just called the Book of Words in Hebrew. Yeah. So anyway, Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Elohinu, Yahweh Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God. The Lord is our God. The Lord is one. The divine name gets replaced with the Lord in all caps in English translations. Because Jews always replaced it with Adonai when speaking because they thought the divine name was too holy to say out loud casually. So yeah. Anyway, Eloheinu, our God, is actually still plural. It would be like Elohinu if it was one, or just Elnu, I think. But yeah, it's Eloheinu, so it's still plural, but it's saying that God is still one. So, yeah. Not that I think anyone's going to think Christianity is polytheistic from Elohim being plural, though. But I just thought I'd share the information. Okay, so here is an example of Elohim being used as the plural of El, multiple spiritual beings. It's always the plural of El, but still. So, we have Psalm 95, verse 3, or in Hebrew, Tahillim, Tashrim, wa Chamesh, Shalosh. So in Hebrew we have, for the Lord is a great God and a great King above all gods. Gods is lowercase, but it's supposed to be, the spiritual beings in heaven, the heavenly creatures. And as we can see, that is represented with Elohim. So yeah, it's Ki El Gadol Yahweh Umelech Gadol Gal Gal Elohim. So yeah, and lastly, I will get an example from the Ten Commandments, actually, of Elohim being used as false gods. So you probably don't need an example of Elohim being used for false gods, but the word being used for false gods, but here it is anyway. Exodus 20, verse 3, or Shemoth, Refaim, Shalosh. And Shemoth is literally names. Sorry that I forgot to mention that shame has an irregular plural earlier. Anyway, you shall have no other gods before me, which is Lo Hiye Lacha Elohim Ral Panai. So yeah, Elohim, gods. Something funny about this verse though is, it literally, instead of before me, it literally says above my face. So yeah, that's pretty funny. Okay, so now that I've shown you that example, it's time to move on. Aim is feminine, it means mother. It means mom. Anyway, Eretz means country, or everything Adama means. It's a synonym to Adama. So Isha is the feminine version of Ish, and it means woman or wife. Also, did I forget to mention that Eretz is a feminine noun? I don't know why land is feminine, but it is. Anyway, I forgot to put the syllable stress on bayif. So, bayif means house. Simple as that. It's a masculine word that means house or home. Also, I'm pretty sure like a tent you live in could be considered a bayif. And fun fact, every Hebrew letter gets its name from a word, and this is the word that the letter Beith gets its name from. When we find words that letters are named after, I will mention the fact that, hey, there's a letter named after it. So anyway, next is Bain. It means son, as in a male child, not son as in the giant ball of gas. And it's masculine. And Both is the feminine one, it's daughter. And you might notice that's using the old feminine ending. Some words still do that, even though is much more common of one. So, Davar, we've brought this one up several times already. It means word or thing, and it can also mean matter. Like, you know that place in, in Exodus when Moses is talking to his father-in-law, and his father-in-law says, all the minor matters let a judge handle, but you do all the major ones. That's the word dava there too. So yom means day. Oh, and I actually forgot to write a word that is spelled and pronounced identically to yom, and it means storm. So yeah. So there's yom, that's day, and yom, that's storm. And they are identical in everything except meaning. Anyway, so this next word has two forms, lev and levav. It's masculine and is literally the body part of a heart. But it can also mean the metaphorical stuff heart means in English, like, your feelings and desires. But it also means mind, with all the logical reasoning and stuff. You gotta, this one's about thinking, and it can also mean will. So, Lila is masculine, surprisingly, and it means night. Actually, sometimes it's just Lil, but it's often Lila, and it's pluralized like a feminine in nouns, so like, yeah, it's pluralized like a feminine noun, and it looks feminine, but it's actually masculine. Anyway, the next word, Mayim, means water, and as you can see, it is always dualized. Actually, just like Yerushalayim, which was Jerusalem, and Mitzrayim, which was Egypt. Those are also always dualized. So, but yeah, Ma'im is masculine, it means water. So, Melech means king or ruler, and it's masculine, and Malka is feminine, and it means queen or ruler. Also, earlier I got the vowel point wrong. It's a patach, not a sagol, not a sagol, like I said earlier. Anyway, Nagar means youth or servant. You know, it's like a young man, as I explained earlier. And Nagara is a youth, a maid servant, or a newlywed. So, Nefesh is neck, throat, soul, or life. Again, there's a Bible Project video on this word too. I would recommend watching that one. But to summarize why it's both neck and soul, you breathe through your throat, and you talk through your throat, and you eat through your throat, and if it's to get cut, you die. So it can mean soul. And when it means life, I was talking about like a human life, not the concept of life itself. Yeah, so Sefer is book, text, scroll, document, codex, I guess. It means book, it's masculine. Tzava means war, army, host, or service. It is masculine, but it has an irregular plural. It has a feminine plural. Rosh means head, top, or chief. Head being like the physical body part of a head, or head is in like the head of something, and top being the physical top of something, or a metaphorical top. It's funny how there's the same metaphor as in English. This is where the letter Resh gets its name. And actually the Aramaic word for head is actually just Resh with the proper vowel for that. So, shame is masculine, and it means name or reputation. So, yeah. Just think about that. When it says, "You shall not use the Lord's name in vain," it's also saying to not use his reputation in vain. Think about that. Anyway, so Shana here is feminine, and it means year. And over here we have Torah, which is also feminine, and means teaching, law, or instruction. So, yeah, that's all the vocab. But something I should have mentioned, Ish and Isha have irregular plurals, and they are the only words, to my knowledge, aside from El to Elohim, that add more things than just the plural suffix. So I'm gonna go over that. Okay, so this is what I was talking about with Ish and Isha having weird plurals. So Ish pluralizes to Anashim, and Isha pluralizes to Nashim. These are the only irregular plurals, aside from Elohim, to add more things than the plural, to add more things rather than just change the plural suffix, to my knowledge. Okay, so that's it for this video. Next time we will be talking about articles and conjunctions. So yeah, shalom, God be with you. And before you watch another YouTube video, how about you go out and do something nice for someone, make their day. This could be as small and simple as just, I don't know, getting your roommate some water, or as big as solving world hunger. Okay, bye.